Good morning booktube and welcome back to my channel. I am Sarah, this is Aussie SFF, Sci-Fi and Fantasy, and today I'm doing my February plus a little bit of January that I forgot wrap up. Here we go. So one of the longest books I've read in a while, longest length of time it's taken me to read, has been S by J.J. Abrams. This is a book, and Doug Dorset. An amazing collection to make a book out of. This is then the book inside the book is Ship of Theseus, but this takes the form of the mysterious V.M. Schraker's book that is then completely annotated with the story of two people who are trying to work out who V.M. Schraker is and trying to avoid the authorities that are, or the mysterious people who are trying to basically either kill them or get them out of the way or steal their research because it's in academia. And it's also peppered through with these interesting little bits and pieces where we learn more about the two characters who are researching. It took me a long time to read this because it is so dense, and I've described it as reading a book, watching a TV show, and trying to listen to a podcast all at the same time because of the different levels of what's going on in here. I did enjoy it, but not as much as I thought, and I gave it a 4-star. One of the first books I finished for the year, which I didn't go towards my Time Infinity, was Kerschel's Dart. I really enjoyed this. This was a 4 out of 5 star. Wasn't a 5, it just didn't quite get there. However, I will be reading the rest of that tale. It does get put in the adult erotic stage because she enjoys being hurt as part of sex. But I was reading it as a fantasy book, which it really, a fantasy epic adventure book, which that definitely stood out for me. Again, in January, I finally read Plastic Magician by Charlie N. Homburg. I really enjoy these. These are light and fun, and I quite liked the new perspective, and I will be reading Homburg's next book that's just come out. I also read The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, which was amazing. Really loved this one. This is by Natasha Pulley. I liked the crossover of cultures, and I always like something set in Victorian London, so beautiful, wonderful story. Very much set in the fantasy realm because one of our main-ish characters can see into the future and predict what's happening. Next, I listened to The Trees by Ali Shaw. This was a pickup from my library that just blew me away. It was a random one that was in when I was searching through a fantasy genre, and I really enjoyed it. It was set in a post-apocalyptic world where in the early hours of the morning, all of a sudden across the entire planet, or so it seems, they're not sure because all communications are down, all of these ancient trees have just risen up and just destroyed all of our structures, roads, houses, buildings, bridges, everything. People have to reconfigure if they survive, because a lot of people were literally impaled on the trees, they have to reconfigure their life. And the group of people that we're looking at sort of start this nomadic journey across England, which is getting colder and colder as the season goes on. Really wonderful sort of fantasy. It's definitely fantasy rather than sci-fi, even if it's post-apocalyptic, but I really loved the genre bend. Next was The Curious Case of the Somnambulist and the Psychic Thief by Lisa Turtle. I want to find more by this author because it was just this beautiful sort of murder, mystery, crime, kidnapping thing set in, again, Victorian London. And I listened to it and it was just a wonderful sort of lightheartedness about it that really appealed to me. And we've got people who are sleepwalking and don't know why, and we've got people who the mesmerists, not the mesmerists, the mediums of the era that was so popular, and they're going missing, and it was a really lovely little mystery. Next, I reread Hollow City. This was a reread for me, so I could finally read The Library of Lost Souls whilst knowing what was going on, because I'd read it so long ago. I adore the old prints of photos in these stories. They evoke something just that little bit mysterious, why these photos were taken in the first place, and that's just so much fun. And the way Ransom Riggs weaves them into the story really makes them seem part of this story rather than a found photo of something bizarre. Second to last, I picked up this one again as an audiobook from my library, The Blood Print, by someone. I'm going to put their name up here because I'm just going to murder it. This was the start of an epic fantasy that I'm going to have to follow because the next one isn't out yet. But I really enjoyed, again, the adventure style one where they have to go on a journey to find a thing, you know, the classic Lord of the Rings style. Go and find a thing because you have to travel this way. But it's all about a society that has repressed the art of reading, the art of bookmaking. Anyone who can write is up to be killed, basically. And the main character is someone who can tell these stories that have been lost, and is also has the power to use these stories to create magic and get people to do what they want. But she's not sure if the word, I think it was the word, is actually starting to eat away at her and control her rather than her controlling it. Very good story. I'm quite liking where this one's going. Lastly, I started it for Tome Infinity and Beyond, but I finished Speaker for the Dead. I did actually read it on my Kindle, but I have a physical copy. This I enjoyed much more than Ender's Game reading it this time, because I read it for Tome Infinity. I preferred this book, this read around, because I'm not a teenager anymore. I realise I enjoyed Ender's Game so much as a Year 12 student, but I have changed, obviously. I have read so much more sci-fi. I understand what makes it good for me, and this was much better for me this time around.